Hello, friends. It's Carla, your online doctor, with today's Live in 5. Today is Tuesday, April 21st. It is 5:02 p.m. So let's talk today about COVID-19 testing. This is something that's been in the news. We're hearing a lot about this. And what does it mean? Okay, they're talking about we need testing to open up the country, right? Okay. You hear a lot of noise possibly. There's all kinds of kids playing in front of the house, which is great. Hopefully they're keeping their distance. All right, so first is the nasopharyngeal swab. You see that on TV where they're reaching into people's car windows and sticking this thing up their nose. This is actually testing for the presence of the COVID-19 virus, the virus itself, looking for the antigens or the proteins that are on the surface of the virus's quote-unquote cell membrane, okay? They're looking for the viral RNA, the genetic material particles that identify it as COVID-19. Now, the technique used for testing is called PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. These tests take anywhere from a few hours to a few days to process. But over the past weeks, the FDA has approved newer ones that give results much quicker. Okay, but it is a complicated process. It still needs to go through its correct sequencing, if you will, a sequence of events. It can't be rushed, if you will. Now, these tests will continue to be used for symptomatic people for diagnosis, as well as for allowing people with COVID-19 to quote unquote return to nursing homes, work, etc. Okay? If you test positive and you are home or you are in the hospital, you have to have 2 consecutive negative tests 24 hours apart before you will be discharged or released to go wherever it is you're going, okay? Especially back to a nursing home, okay? The second set of tests are the key to determining how far spread the virus actually is in each community. These are the antibody tests. Okay, antibodies are formed by your body in response to an antigen or a foreign substance, in this case, a virus. Now, during an acute infection with something, your body makes IgM antibodies. Okay, they will rise and then go away as the infection clears. During the course of your infection, probably a few days in, your body will begin to make IgG antibodies. And these are the ones that provide lifelong immunity, ideally, after an infection. Okay, so we hope this will be the case for COVID-19, but for viruses like chickenpox, Epstein-Barr virus, HIV, this does not happen. You do not ever develop lifelong immunity, which is why you can get reinfected or reactivated with a virus. Now, coronavirus does not do that in the past. The MERS and the SARS epidemics never created a situation where the virus reactivated. Okay, that meaning it stayed in your body and reactivated. We are hopeful that our bodies are going to create antibodies so that if we're re-exposed to COVID-19 and you have antibodies, you cannot be reinfected with the same virus. Okay, so back to the COVID-19 and antibody tests. Okay, these antibody tests require enzyme-linked immunoabsorbent assays. Okay, that's called the ELISA testing. They have specific ones for COVID-19, not just coronavirus, okay, because there are lots of strains of coronavirus, and testing for positive for coronavirus doesn't mean you are antibody protected for COVID-19. They may find out that if people who have had a strain of coronavirus, maybe those people are the ones that are not getting as sick when they're exposed to this. Maybe that's something that they will figure out in the future. But antibodies to coronavirus, like MERS and SARS and all that other stuff, does not provide you protection for COVID-19. Now, nucleic acid tests are another type of test that Dr. Birx on the task force talked about. These detect organism-specific DNA or RNA in the case of COVID-19, and that would identify, again, specifically that type of virus. Now, these are specific and highly sensitive and can generate results rapidly. So they're moving into this type of testing to get these tests done more quickly. Now, as you know, there are many people in our communities worldwide that, quote unquote, had COVID-19 and never knew it. Okay? Meaning they may have developed antibodies in their blood already, but they never even knew that they were infected. Now, the reason this is important is it will determine the actual percentage of people that might have immunity, and it overall will lower the mortality percentage. Now, that said, it certainly is not going to change the number of people who have died or people that will die. But when you have a greater number of people that have actually had the disease, instead of 1,000, say it's 100,000, the percentage or the mortality rate is much, much lower. And that is what we're going to find. So when we look at numbers now, when we see 3%, 4%, maybe in Italy or Spain, we're seeing 10%. Those numbers will eventually be recalculated once they are able to mass test the communities so that they can determine the overall incidence of the disease in people who didn't even know they had it, and that mortality percentage will drop. Again, it does not change the number of people who have died or will die, and that's the sad part, but it will show you and everybody the overall percentage. Now, the concern about testing, and I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow, is the false positives and the false negatives. So if you are a false positive, it really is only a problem if it's a false positive for an antibody test. Okay, if you test positive for an antibody test, you think you've been protected. You may lower your guard. You may go out without a mask. You may not social distance. You may not wash your hands thinking, I'm good. I've already had it and I'm done. But if it was a mistake and you did not, in fact, have antibodies, that's a problem. If you had a false negative for the antigen, meaning for the virus, and you think you don't have it when in fact you do, that is another risk. So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow, because that is the problem that they're having rolling out these different types of tests faster. Everybody wants the test. The problem is in China and other countries, they've had a lot of problems with their tests, and their tests are not accurate, and they're getting a lot of false information. And that by no means will help us. It will help nobody. So we don't want tests that are bad. We want tests that are good and accurate. Now, if you look up, Stanford University actually has done preliminary tests in Santa Clara, California, and they found 1,000 positive cases by testing, but they were actually close to 50,000 to 80,000 with antibodies. That means there's a 50 to 80-fold higher incidence of exposure and actual presence of the virus in the community than they thought. So this would lower a 3% mortality down to 0.12 to 0.2%. Okay, that is a huge difference. Now, again, 3% sounds horrible, and it is, but 0.1% puts it on par with influenza. And I'm not comparing this to influenza. I'm just letting you know in terms of mortality, those are the numbers we may in fact see when all is said and done. So I know that was long. It was very scientific. It was whatever. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you have questions, message me, put them in the comments, share this with your friends, tag a friend, however you want to get the word out. Testing is important, but we have to make sure that we are doing it correctly, accurately, and that we're not getting a lot of these false positives and false negatives. Okay? So on that note, I hope you guys are having a great day and staying safe, washing your hands, social distancing, all of that stuff as we start to open up the country, the world. let's hope that we keep the curve flat and we start to actually come down on the other side, and we can all find our new normal. Okay? I love you guys, and have a great day. I will see you again tomorrow for another Live in 5.